in newly built apartments and townhouses. It's a $210 million investment that will provide homeowners with lower upfront costs and mortgage repayments. This is a major election commitment which we have now delivered. This is an important opportunity, not only for young people to get a roof over their heads, to own a great home, but to increase housing supply and increase densities in our community to make sure that everyone has viable and sustainable communities in which to live. By providing hundreds of shared equity loans to newly built apartments and townhouses, my government is boosting housing supply and helping more Western Australians into an affordable home. I now get the Treasurer to provide you with more details on this important announcement.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Premier. As the Premier outlined today, we're opening up for submissions our new Keystart Urban Connect Shared Equity. What shared equity is all about is government partnering with the first home buyer to buy their first home. This is a very important measure to support home buyers getting into their homes. It also is all about increasing housing supply. So this Urban Connect Shared Equity program will be applied to newly constructed homes, homes under construction, or homes off the plan. It'll be apartments, villas and townhouses. What the offer is that the government will take up, through Keystart, up to 35% of the equity of their new apartment or villa or townhouse. So it basically means government partnering with first home buyers. This has been successful in the past, and this is all about, again, making sure this fuels supply. So that's why we're limiting it to those apartments that have just been constructed and not yet lived in, or homes under construction or off the plan. So this is very much about bringing on more supply. Apartment buildings like this, which are very much nearly sold out, but for example there are some left, and what we've seen in the past in particular is that these types of initiatives also need to be catering for homes that have just been completed, because it allows the builder or developer to then sell those homes and then be able to go and build some new ones. So the scheme will be available for apartments, townhouses, units and villas that are purchased, as I said, off the plan, under construction or newly built, with a maximum property price of $730,000. The income limits for the scheme are in line with the existing shared equity income limits, $123,000 for singles and $189,000 for couples. An example, currently a home buyer purchasing a new apartment for $700,000 through traditional finance could require a deposit of $140,000 and pay more than $3,380 per month. Under this Keystart Urban Connect Shared Equity, the home buyer would require a $9,100 deposit with monthly mortgage payments of less than $3,000, saving more than $4,500 each year on repayments. So as I said, this is very much about partnering with home buyers to get them into their home. This is very much about supporting people moving into their own place, and also supporting new dwellings and the supply of new housing. So this is very much a targeted product about supporting home buyers, but also increasing the volume of stock that we have available in the market. Any questions?
We've heard a lot about the federal scheme overheating the market. How can you be confident that this won't add to that overheating?
Because this, I'll just answer that, this is very much about supply as much as demand. So this product is targeted, as I said, for product that's off the plan, under construction, or newly completed and not yet lived in. So this is all about encouraging supply. And when you've got apartment buildings like this, it's very much what we're targeting. This is affordable housing in close proximity to excellent public transport, shopping centres, medical facilities. This is a great place for people to live in, and it's already serviced by so many different services, whether it be medical, retail, public transport. So this is very much targeting an affordable product being built in key areas across our suburbs. There's, in relation to the new builds, the majority of this product was under that market. So we're very much targeting, as I said, the affordable product. For example, a 1 by 1 in this apartment buildings, around just over 500,000, and a 2 by 2, not on the top floor but further down, is less than 730. So this is very much targeted at increasing supply. As I said, this is not about going to the established market. This is about encouraging supply, and off the plan in particular is where we can get that affordable product.
So we can share the load here. Can I then ask you about general rental market?
Sure.
22 suburbs of top more than $1,000 a week. I mean, that's impossible.
That's why we're doing all we're doing, and we're going to continue to work to increase supply. As other states, is to increase housing supply. This type of measure is all about increasing supply. Our infrastructure development fund about increasing supply. All of our measures are all about trying to get as many apartments, homes built in WA as soon as possible. In relation to some of the building stats, we've seen a 24% increase in approvals over the past 12 months, plus 21,700 homes built last year. We know we need to build more, and that's our focus, is as much supply onto the market as soon as possible, working with developers and builders. That is the answer to the rental issue.
You could cap, when you go into the market and make rentals available, you can cap the rent, but is the private rental market letting the community down?
I honestly think it's a factor of supply, and it's about making sure that we can get more product built. I mean, all states have faced this. Western Australia was relatively, in a sense, undervalued in respect to housing product. We've seen increases in value, but it's all about supply. That's what we've been talking about, and what we're trying to do across the work with Keystart, the work through our infrastructure agencies, the work through all of our land release is all about trying to free up as much construction activity as possible. We know that's the only way to really address the increases in rent, is to increase supply, and that will help moderate rents.
Can I ask you on another issue, just perhaps more an update than anything else? Optus on the stadium, the signage on the stadium. Has the government have you come to any thoughts about that?
No, not at this stage. So I have been away for a week, but no, not at this stage, no updates.
Sports Minister as well, the Osborne Park Football Club has had its lease discontinued by the City of Stirling. What are you concerned about the scenes out of their party, and do you think it was the right decision by the City of Stirling? Yeah,
I need to get a further update from the City of Stirling about what's gone on in relation to what the lead up to this event as well as this event, so I'm happy to get a briefing on that. I'll just say this is a warning to all of us in society that there are some things that are simply not acceptable in today's day and age.
Are you concerned it's becoming a pattern? We saw it in South Bunbury as well.
Look, as I said, I think it's incumbent of all sporting organisations in particular, and all organisations, that there are certain things that simply aren't acceptable in today's day and age.
The public submission is closed tomorrow for the EPA, for the racetrack going to the EPA. Do you anticipate that it will be overwhelmingly in favour of that project going through the EPA?
Oh, well, the Entertainment and Sports Precinct went through the environmental process. Look, this was a landfill site that turned into a golf course and has contaminated lakes in it. So that's what it is. They're the facts. And on any winter day, it's completely submerged and is completely unusable. That's the site we're talking about. I look forward to the EPA's decision, but this, as I said, a landfill site that turned into a golf course that on any winter or rainy day is completely unusable. So that's, and lakes that are contaminated. That's the type of environment that we're talking about.
Is there a business case yet for the project?
We're finalising that, and it's, as I said, because it's not only aimed at hosting a racing event once a year, it's also going to be a full-time racing track for cyclists. It's going to have an amphitheatre. It's going to have other multi-use. So, as you could tell, this is community infrastructure that will benefit people for generations to come.
You've been away for a few days. You weren't out when this development of the racetrack happened, but are you concerned that that piece of Crown land that you need for the racetrack, would that current designs dictate that you will need for the current project? If you can't broker a deal to get that piece of land without a cost, isn't that going to
Where there's a number of processes that are underway. Look, we're very, very committed to delivering this incredible multi-use precinct. This land was sold to Crown, I think, by the then Barnett government. It's some sort of deal. So that exists. We're working through that, but it's only a small parcel, and there's ways that we can negotiate around it.
Are you concerned at all about reports that the European Union might put a 50% tariff on steel?
Yeah, look, I've heard that. Where again, our biggest market, of course, is through Asia, through both China and Japan in relation to our exports. That's our big trading partner. We'll of course, keep a watch on it. But again, in relation to our forecasts, our iron ore price is very conservative across the forward estimates, and we'll continue to have a watching brief on it. But I'm surprised by this movement by the EU, but it's something that we'll continue to have a watch on.
What do you have to say to upset Italian AC Milan fans?
Well, I think they're going to be very happy. Look, this is a world first. Perth is now, I think, on every front page of the European newspapers. This is a major historic first for Western Australia. This is something we should be very proud of. This is something that's, as I said, unprecedented, never been attempted before, let alone delivered. This is something about making sure Western Australia is host to the biggest football game that Australia's ever seen, that anywhere outside Italy has ever seen. So we're very, very excited.
On Keystar, when did discussions start to appoint Sue Ellery to the board?
I'm not sure, but I think it's over the past few months.
It wouldn't have happened while she was still in Parliament.
Nah.
While we've got you as well.
What else you got on the list? I
Yeah,
think you guys got this
sorry.
list.
The Gina Roundheart's development of a West Perth heritage listed property was approved this morning for redevelopment, so it'll be demolished. 120 years old. Does the state have any concerns about Basil Zempoulis's relationship with Gina and any conflict of interest that might have presented itself during that process?
A landfill site into a multi-use community infrastructure. Yeah, look at his record when he was mayor. So it's more about the hypocrisy of Basil Zempoulis on all matters, and this is a clear demonstration. This is a person who now pretends he cares about anything, and when he was mayor, he did whatever he liked.
Thank you very much.
Premier, just while we're on that topic,
Yep.
Do you have any concerns about the process that this has allowed this demolition of a 120-year-old building to go ahead?
Well, I hope we can all have confidence in the decisions that the City of Perth made, although there clearly seems to be some question marks in relation to the integrity of that decision today. We want to make sure that we have a vibrant city that can develop and grow, but we do need to be respectful of our built heritage and our cultural heritage. I certainly hope in this case that all due process was provided to back this decision up.
Sorry, it was a decision by the State Administrative Tribunal, so do you still think there are questions to be raised about that?
Well, I believe that this came up in relation to the deliberation by the City of Perth, so I'll allow that to lay where it lies. But in relation to the administrative, well, the State Appeal State Administrative Tribunal, those decisions are the same. Like any court, we stand by them.
Do you think that the state needs to review, have its own review?
Into this specific decision?
Yeah, into this one.
Yeah, no, we don't see a reason to intervene or to review the decision. As you observe, it's
Just
been.
that there are questions.
Well, I said there's potentially question marks to the way it was managed by the City of Perth, but the State Administrative Tribunal is a judicial authority within Western Australia.
Premier, if the government is going to preserve full payment that Dion Barber has been offered, why didn't you confirm this yesterday? He was on radio this morning saying how gutted and upset he is that the state is appealing this case.
Well, originally we preserved $1 million of his $2.8 million payout. That was confirmed this morning on radio. by one of my colleagues. In consultation with the Attorney General and the Treasurer, we believe that it's actually appropriate to preserve that whole payment. Now, there are issues of law which need to be clarified in the context of this decision. But when we go to the heart of the issue, which is historical child sexual abuse, we do not contest that that took place. And when it comes to the actual payout in relation to that that abuse, we stand by that decision and will preserve it. Now, but obviously, when you have an appeal of this situation, it re-traumatises it, and that is not a situation of our choosing or particularly that we want to see happen. We're informed, and please understand that this is actually legal action which is brought on by insurers instructing solicitors, not by government instructing solicitors, and so we have to actually respect that process. But where we can intervene, in this case, in relation to the actual amount of the payout, we'll stand by that decision.
Is that a good enough reason, though? Like Dion spoke this morning of how re-traumatising it's going to be, and he said he can't even face the reality that he has to go through this again. Why are you appealing this case?
Well, we are not appealing this case. Let me be really clear. We, the government, because the state insurers, so not the state government, but the state insurers, believe that there's matters of law that need to be clarified as a result of this precedent decision. Well, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't understand the full extent of that. What I do understand is that Dion had the strength and the courage to come forward with his lived experience, and we thank him and acknowledge his bravery. Two, we believe that he should be awarded the full compensation as a result of the original decision, and that's a decision that I've taken.
But the Minister can, which I believe is the Treasurer, does have directional power over ICWA, and they can say, well, no, we're not doing this.
So we need to clarify certain aspects of the law that don't go to the heart of Dion's experience or his payout. That is not being contested. My understanding is that there are points of law that need to be clarified in order to make sure others in the future receive their justice as well. So the Treasurer will obviously, take an interest. But where we do need to clarify these points of law, we want it to happen.
2.8 is a substantial amount of money. The government's fear that other people will come forward and you'd be looking at a bottomless well of compensation.
We have no fear in relation to people receiving the justice that they deserve. That is the reason why we changed the laws in 2017 to remove the statute of limitations to ensure people do get the justice that they deserve. Let me remind you, and I notice that there's been some commentators, particularly within the Liberal Party, around this particular issue today. It was the Liberal Party in government which blocked one of their own members of Parliament from bringing these laws in. So they deliberately stopped the removal of the statute of limitations. My government, or the WA Labor government, in 2017 removed the statute of limitations, so people like Dion Barber can get the justice that they deserve.
Are there other ways, though, to clarify these elements of law? Because in general, it's not a good look for the state to be a
Well, the state always wants to be a model litigant, and the Attorney General is working with the legal teams to understand the nature of their concerns in relation to clarifying the law. And obviously, we don't want to bring these things back to the courtroom, but where these matters need to be clarified, we understand from that particular perspective.
So can I clarify then?
Yes.
It's concerns about the matters of law, not the amount that has been awarded.
That's my understanding, but I'll continue to be advised on these particular matters.
Well, I mean, isn't that crucial to the whole thing?
No. What is crucial? What is crucial?
What you've introduced is a doubt about whether they are horrified at the amount.
Well, what is crucial here is that Dion gets the justice he deserves. A judge, hearing his story, awarded him $2.8 million in compensation. We stand by that.
Can I get your take on
course.
this Osborne Park Footy Club scandal? Pretty shocking allegations. Like, what do you make of it?
Look, I've received a very high-level brief in relation to the accusations in this particular case. If they are true, they are particularly disturbing. And as the Deputy Premier has just said, people need to be aware of what is acceptable in today's day and age. I understand in post-season celebrations, things get a little bit excited. And people want to have fun, but they must do that, understanding that common decency needs to be upheld. Now, the city of they're grimacing. Now, the City of Stirling have made the decision to remove the tenancy of the club from that particular club room. That is a decision for them, and the club, I understand, has now been asked to please explain to the WA AFL, and we want to understand the nature of the allegations in this particular case. But it's a reminder, once again, everyone needs to uphold community values. What was once a funny gesture or a funny act is no longer acceptable, and we all need to be cognizant of that, particularly when we have these situations where we party. Now, I just want to also say, sports clubs are a model of community behaviour. Young people look to their coaches, they look to the leaders of their sports club to model the sort of behaviour which is acceptable in our society. So sports clubs have a responsibility to make sure that they set the example of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Now, from a very high level briefing I've had in relation to this, the behaviour was in no way acceptable, and we need obviously to get to the bottom of that matter.
Can I just come back to Dion Barber?
Sure.
I'm just interested in the timing of your decision to preserve his payment. Was that?
Yeah.
It wasn't yesterday, because you would have mentioned it. Was it today when you woke up and heard the uproar on radio and the people's concern?
I've been reflecting on this for a number of days now, and I've been consulting with both the Treasurer and the Attorney General over the last 24 hours.
So, but did you hear the public uproar and say, well, that's it, that's made up my mind?
No, well, not necessarily, but obviously I'm very much aware of community sentiment and concern. I share that concern. I think any member of the community would look at the experiences that someone like Dion's had and believe that we should stand by people who have the courage to come out with their lived experience, to provide people with an insight into what they've gone through, and in this case, to stand in a court of law and repeat those experiences. We admire his strength and his courage, and we believe that it's only decent that we should preserve the original payout as awarded by the judge.
Yesterday on ABC Radio, when you were asked whether you were concerned with the appeal, you said, certainly got concerns that you received some adverse public conversational feedback. So I understand, are you more concerned about public feedback than the effect that this appeal might have on a victim of sexual assault?
Oh, no, not at all, of course not.
Is it appropriate that the Department of Health has stakeholders sign confidentiality agreements so they can't speak publicly about department, in this case, canvassing a maternity wing or a maternity ward, QE2?
Well, obviously, when we go about consultation with people, particularly those who have got experience of health services and of the like, that it's important that we can hear from those experiences without it necessarily becoming part of the public debate, so the department can actually get an understanding of what they need to keep in mind when they make their decisions. Now, I'm not aware of the what you might, I guess, characterise as a non-disclosure agreement, but it is important that the department has the confidence to be able to raise issues with people, particularly users of services, clinical services in particular, in a way which allows them to really understand how we can best configure those decisions.
So that's pretty usual practice then, for people to sign NDAs?
Well, my understanding is that there is always an agreement with people about the information that's shared with them as part of them providing that feedback. Thanks very much. Oh, sorry, yeah.
EU steel tariffs, are you concerned that potentially might come in? There's a lot of funding going towards green steel.
Yeah, look, I haven't received a briefing in relation to the decision, so I don't know if this is about fines or if it's about further processed products. We've had great conversations with industry representatives in the EU about the opportunity for Western Australia to produce green iron or steel precursor products as part of the international supply chain. We're very keen to look at that. But as the Treasurer said, our primary markets in relation to our iron ore are China, Japan and Korea. That is our focus. And in relation to any threats that might be to the public finances, as you know, we predict and predicate our decisions on a very conservative forward estimate for the price of iron ore.
Are you concerned that more tariffs might be coming from our allies, obviously in the US?
Well, look, it's interesting. This week I've spent a lot of time with government and industry representatives from Japan. And they say to me is that in a time of global upheaval in relation to the international rules of trade, they rely upon great countries like Australia for the confidence which is built upon both a shared history in relation to trade, but also ongoing consultation and partnership in the way that we continue to grow the prosperity of our two economies. And so I think it's important that everyone makes sure that we all adhere to those principles, and that is the principles of the global rules with regards to free trade, and continue to work with countries with two-way trade relationships to make sure that we can continue to prosper.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.